Welcome into a very special edition of the Orange Crush podcast. Cody Roark, Rachel Vigil, and we're not talking it special because the Broncos defeated the undefeated Eagles team. Yeah, the Super Bowl champions. No. It's because we have a puppy on the other side of this screen. You guys, I am obsessed. How freaking cute. I need all the details, Cody.
I tell you what, it's hard to do work. Not to say like I don't have kids, right? So I don't want to compare it to having a baby, but it's like in the middle of the night, we're up every 2 hours because he sleeps. He wakes up. You have to take him potty. We have like an indoor because he doesn't have all his vaccines yet, so he can't really go outside yet.
Yeah.
So we have like an indoor play crate for him.
Yep.
It's chaos. And like I tried to have him down for a nap right now, but as you could tell, it's not working out. So at the worst case scenario, Broncos fans watching this, they get some, pet therapy on top of it. So
listen, we always say that these are our therapy sessions, and luckily this is a happy therapy session because the Broncos obviously get the win. But anytime you throw a puppy into the mix, I am 100% down. He weighs like 3 pounds too, so I can only imagine how often you're having to go to the bathroom.
A lot, and I tell you what, he's got sharp little teeth. He got me on my nose earlier in the week.
Oh, yep, so that looks a little painful. Not gonna lie.
He's mischievous. For those that don't know, this is Oliver, and so he got to witness his first ever Broncos win on Sunday. So it was a milestone for him.
When did you guys him up?
Saturday.
Saturday. My gosh, I love that.
So.
Well, listen, October 4th is a special day for both of us then. You got a puppy. It was my 1-year anniversary, so we love this for us. And then, we follow it up with a Broncos win, a Broncos victory. I'm curious, though, because everybody's talking about that this is the biggest win since Super Bowl 50. In your eyes, is that true?
Yeah. No, I think so. I just think because the magnitude of it, look, I think Denver beating the Chiefs a couple of years ago, it was when Russell Wilson was there. That was a huge win. That was a very big win for the Broncos. I'd say it's up there with that. But this, I just think who they beat. I mean, this is a team that dismantled the Kansas City Chiefs the way that they did in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Very talented all across the board. The Broncos found a way to overcome some tough adversity. And I just think like it was probably the most satisfying win that we have seen because it was ugly. It was 17-3. It was ugly. It was rough until the fourth quarter. And then they just kind of just like everything fell together perfectly in all three phases. This was a clean win here, minus the penalties. We won't talk about that. But overall, it felt clean. It didn't feel fluky.
Well, the fourth quarter felt clean. Everything else felt a little disastrous, which is still my mentions on Twitter of people telling me that I'm an idiot because I called this Denver Broncos team in the second quarter an undisciplined football team with a quarterback that was dealing with a sophomore slump. Yes, things drastically changed, okay? Drastically. But you cannot tell me in the first 3 quarters that you weren't sitting there thinking, what happened to the Bo Nix that we saw in the second half of last year? Because he was non-existent in those first 3 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, he was struggling. And look, I think the Eagles, they did a great job. I went and put my film review up. The stunts that they threw at the Broncos, I mean, it was perfect. Like the way that they executed it was great. They did a lot of just trying to just take away the deep stuff and force the Broncos to throw short to the sticks and rally and tackle. I mean, they have great linebackers. They have great, Cooper Eugene and the nickel is great. Yep. They have good safety play. The D-line, don't even get me started on the D-line. The D-line's very talented. But it just seemed like for me, it was more of the Broncos dealing with negative plays, right? For example, we talk about like the one play, like a snowball. Bo goes to find Trent Sherfield. There's a corner and a safety covering him, and he throws it deep down the left side. It, falls short. On the next play, he gets sacked for a 13-yard loss, which, I mean, there's nothing he could have done. The A-gap pressure right there was rough. So it's like you have 2 of those negative plays. And then on the ensuing drive, like literally a few plays after that, the Broncos defense facing a 3rd and 17 gives up a 52-yard catch. Then the next play, it's a pass interference. And then the next play, it's a touchdown. It spiraled. And Rachel, I think you have a valid point here. The penalties have been an issue, but I think that's a league-wide issue right now. But the Broncos have been dealing with penalties since 2022, even before Sean came here. And those things hurt them. Now, I'll say there were several penalties I didn't agree with at all. But you know what? Like, I think that you can make that argument for every team in the NFL. Yeah. 12 penalties, 120-plus yards here. I don't want to hear Eagles fans talking about the refs in this game because there were some questionable calls that were made, like Marvin Mims right before halftime. Clear pass interference. They picked the flag up. So it's like, all right, like, whatever. It is what it is. I just think the identity of this team is still a work in progress. And we didn't see it in 3 quarters, right? But that fourth quarter, there's stuff to build off of. And I mean, I didn't think that they could come back. I'll be honest. Based on everything that we've seen, Rachel, like there was no inclination for us going into the fourth quarter, or I mean, like midway through the third, like, this team can claw back. We haven't seen that from them. We have now, and that's great.
We finally learned how to win, right? Like the only time they've trailed in the fourth quarter all season, and this is the most miraculous win that we've seen all season.
Great.
It was so interesting to watch just how all of a sudden they like snapped their fingers and everything seemed to make sense for this offense. Every way that Bo was struggling in the first 3 quarters, all of a sudden he looked like an A+ student with extra credit out there, being able to divide and conquer the field, read the defenses so well, not look at his targets. Like there were just so many little things for Bo that you were like, holy smokes, you really put it together. But my big thing is you have to give credit to the defense. I can't imagine going out there for 3 quarters, busting your ass out there and having the opposite side of the ball continue to struggle, but you allowed them to stay in the game enough to be able to give you a win. And then, of course, you have to stop the defending champs from going down there and scoring, and that's exactly what they did. My hat goes off to the defense because they allowed them to stay in the game the entire 60 minutes.
I mean, they really, outside of Saquon's touchdown catch that he had, they really held Saquon in check besides that one passing play there. I thought overall, I mean, Philly going into halftime was 2 of 7 on third down. Really, the difference in this game was the Devonta Smith 52-yard catch on third down.
Yep.
You have that easy touchdown set up by what I thought was just a soft pass interference call. I didn't think that was a PI. Thought Pat played that pretty well against A.J. Brown there. But you have that play, just a couple of explosives were really the difference, and the Eagles just having some momentum. But the Broncos, I mean, hat tip to the defensive Vance Joseph. After that Saquon touchdown, they suffocated that Eagles offense and flustered them. I mean, we're talking about Nick Bonito and Zach Allen coming up big, Jaquan McMillan getting the sack. They did such a fantastic job in that after that Saquon touchdown of really just kind of tightening their grip, and that afforded the offense some opportunities. It gave them momentum, and luckily, I mean, the offense was able to build off of that. That's what you want to see from this team, though, Rachel, right? Like, how many times have we seen historically over the last, I don't know how many years, 10 years, like one side of the ball for the Broncos is playing really well, and the other side's just not able to capitalize on it. One game, the offense is playing well, but the defense is struggling. One game, the defense is struggling, and the offense is playing really well, like vice versa. And then now you just saw it's like the defense is playing well. Now the offense is picking it up, and they're playing well. And special teams, don't even get me started on special teams. They played fantastic as well. This was the most, I think, complete victory for the Broncos. And it's crazy to think that they mounted it all in the fourth quarter.
Isn't that crazy? I never in a million years would have anticipated after the third quarter that we would come in here and be talking about a win. But everybody, of course, is talking about Sean Payton's 2-point conversion. Would you have gone for it if you were Sean?
Yes. Why not? Like, do you remember the Bengals game last year where they didn't? Like, Marvin catches a touchdown, they don't go for 2, and you lose in overtime. Like, I loved the decision because you still had time, right? You still had timeouts. You still had time. I think it was like 7 minutes left in the game.
Yep.
So worst case, like your defense is playing great. So the trend is, hey, our defense has gotten stops. Now we have an opportunity here to go through and like, okay, if we don't get it, we might have a chance to go down, drive for a game-winning field goal at the end. Will Lutz hit one from 55. So like the vibe was pretty good. At that point, I loved the call. Did you like it, or were you kind of like, what are you doing? I know the timeline on Twitter was freaking out the moment it was happening. Like, they're going for 2? I loved it.
I think, yeah, you go for it. You're finally seeing your offense get into a little bit of a rhythm, and clearly the Eagles are a little distressed. So why not go for it in that time frame? Like, I don't understand why everybody was so, like, I get it with the amount of time that was on the clock because it's not typically what you see. But Sean Payton's not the typical coach either. Like, you finally are seeing your offense who has struggled all game long. They get out there. You might as well allow yourself this 1 point. And if you don't get it, look, you have the time to be able to move back down the field to hopefully get the field goal. So I was actually all for it. I don't think that it wasn't going to make or break the game. It's not like there was a minute left on the clock and if you're going to lose, you're going to lose that way. You know what I mean? That you're not going for the tie then at that point. So I was actually a fan of it. I didn't mind it at all. And again, I think you have the offense that's finally rolling. So you might as well allow them to see what they can do. And Bo said that they practiced that for like the past couple of weeks. So you might as well just give it a whirl out there. And I liked it personally. The other thing I liked, and I don't think anybody's actually talking about it, the fake tush push. Oh my gosh, the fake tush push that we saw, and then also the actual tush push we saw from the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, Nate Atkins, who would have thought, you know,
I
Nate's going to
know.
be able to draw Jalen Carter off sides. And gosh, I think the Broncos did that. I think TJ Hawkinson did that a couple years ago. I think it was 2023 Sunday Night Football, Vikings versus Broncos. They tried that on the very first play, and then it ended up like Kareem Jackson forced a fumble on that play there. I trying to draw back, you know, on the little vault I have in my head. But I mean, I loved it, Rachel. Like, why not go big on the road against a team like that? Like, showcasing like you're not scared. I love that. And the Broncos brought that mentality. This is a huge win for them.
I think Sean does do that really well too. Of like, he knows the teams he's going up against and he plays that very well. If he thinks, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but if he thinks that this team is maybe a little bit better, which, let's be fair, we could all agree the Eagles were very much better than the Broncos going into this game. Like, he plays it well. It was the same thing with the Bills in the playoff game. That's why they drew up such a fantastic play on that first drive to be able to get a touchdown.
Yeah.
He plays his hand very well.
And there were even some things he said in the post-game presser that there were a couple of things, like a couple of plays they wanted to run that they didn't get a chance to.
Yeah.
And he said, looking back, like, you know, well, we can save it for down the road. And look, you have plenty of season left to be able to break out some pretty cool stuff. And hopefully you catch the perfect look here. But I just love the aggressiveness. I love that this team doesn't play scared, which is great. You want to see that from a team that, you know, feels like they can be playoff contenders here. And on top of that, too, Sean said in the locker room, he said he asked them, you know, who are you afraid of? And he said, and the team said nobody. Like, the team has this mentality. They're not afraid of anybody. They finally got over the hump of beating a really good team in a close game.
Agreed. I'm absolutely just loving what we're seeing on camera right now, just attacking the sweatshirt.
He loves these drawstrings. It's just, you know, teething puppies. It's the craziest thing to deal with right now.
Oh my God, they're so cute. I'm literally like so jealous. So you're just sitting there with a little puppy and they've got puppy breath. I'm like, the best.
Oh no, he'd make Dan Campbell happy. He's a kneecap biter. He loves to bite the kneecaps. It's something. But
let's also go real quick talk about the AFC West. The Broncos being the only team to get a victory. How about the Chiefs losing on Monday Night Football? What a game that was.
I love it. And it really, I think what started that kind of downhill spiral for the Chiefs was the Devin Lloyd pick six. You know, it's not often you get a 99-yard pick six. He's going to make some money this offseason. Man, he'd be great in a Broncos uniform. If he somehow hits free agency and the Jaguars don't get him, Devin Lloyd would be at the top of my free agency wish list. But, yeah, the Chiefs lose, the Chargers lose, the Raiders lose. The Raiders stink. Like, there were people trying to hype up Geno Smith in the offseason. I'm just like, why? Like,
okay, we talked about this last week. We didn't talk about the Raiders specifically, but if you are the Raiders, why don't you trade a 5th-round pick for Shedeur Sanders and see what he can do?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt at this point. I just don't know if Pete Carroll. I don't know if Pete Carroll would vibe well with him in terms of that. Who knows? Like, Shedeur is such a polarizing figure, and it's like, you know, yeah, he was good at CU, but you know, you have the attitude perception here for him. I mean, if he's in the AFC West, I can't imagine this Broncos defense against Shedeur. They'd have probably 8 or 9 sacks in a game against him. So, I mean, I'm open for it.
Yeah. You have to do something if you are the Raiders, because what you're doing is clearly not working. And yeah, Geno is not the answer to it. I would love to see Shedeur actually go out there. Just like I'm going to love when the Broncos play the Chiefs, because I think we're going to see a couple of beautiful sacks on Patrick Mahomes. And then it'll be interesting to see the next Chargers matchup too. But on the other side of the break, we do in fact have to talk about an injury to the Broncos offensive line that is a little scary when you look at it. We will be right back. Oh my goodness gracious. When you find out that Ben Powers isn't going to London on Sunday night, you're thinking, that's a little weird. Then you find out there's a bicep injury, and then all of a sudden the next day you find out he's going on IR, and it could be a couple of months. Cody, I don't know how to feel about this.
It's rough news, and it comes at kind of like the worst time because the Broncos, the run game is starting to get going. I mean, they had 94 yards on the ground in the second half, which is crazy to think about, kind of a hidden statistic there.
Yeah.
Typically, you don't want to run the ball when you're down 17-3 because you're just draining more clock, more time off the clock. So that was interesting. J.K. Dobbins has been a little Energizer bunny here for the Broncos offense. And so now when you lose Ben Powers, who I think has been very important to the Broncos O-line, I think he's been one of the better players on the O-line outside of Garrett Bowles and McGlinchey so far this year. He hasn't struggled as much as some of the other guys have.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big loss. And now it's coming at a time where, like, you have 5 matchups coming up. I don't like to look too far ahead, but I think it's important to note, like, Denver should be favored in all 5 matchups that they have on the schedule in the next 5 games. Now your offense is rolling and you take a hit like this, you have to put somebody else in. You just hope that there's no drop off. And I think that there's a chance that there won't be drop off just because you have guys in the system that have been on this team for, 2 or more seasons.
Yeah.
So I think that's a benefit to it, but it definitely hurts when you lose a guy who hasn't missed a single start since signing with the Broncos in 2023.
Isn't that such a crazy stat? At such a brutal position, too. I'm like, that is just – I mean, we've seen a lot of guys on the offensive line have to miss games because of injuries. The fact that he hasn't missed a single one since he signed is pretty great. It's like I was trying to remember the amount of games, but it's pretty nuts when you just –
Yeah, I think it's 40 straight games.
Yeah, like that is such an insane amount to keep your body healthy, again, in such like a brutal position on a football team. You got to applaud him. That's going to be a major blow, though, and hopefully they can just – remain calm. And I know Bo Nix and everything, like this is why you have so much depth in that position, but you just have to make sure that things go smoothly. But honestly, when you're going up against a team like a Jets, I would much rather it be this week than last week to have an injury like that happen.
Yeah, and look, there's some interesting storylines this week going into week 6. Sean Payton facing off against Aaron Glenn, who, it's protege versus mentor. Yeah. Darren Muji, the former assistant GM. You have a Broncos team that just beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who are undefeated. Now you're facing off against a winless Jets team. This could, on paper, this has all the makings for a potential trap game.
Yeah.
For me, I want to see this Broncos team just come out this week, take care of business, right? Take care of business against the Jets the way that you were expected to against the Bengals.
Yep.
Don't let the high of this win dissipate. Carry it over and beat a winless team and put them down a little bit further. I hope that's the mentality. I think we'll see that. I do. I think that this team, they've shown the ability to lock in and take care of business. I don't think that they're going to be distracted, but you always have to, going into the week, these things make you a little anxious.
I was laughing because I've seen some videos from some of the media member over in London. And they're like, the Broncos definitely are not in London because they are staying far away from any sort of distractions. But today is their off day. Yep. And I'm like, how are you stopping the players from going into London on their off day to go explore? So that just makes me laugh when I think about it. I'm like, you guys are staying so far away from all of the hustle and bustle, but yet it's their off day. I know a bunch of the wives and girlfriends traveled out to London, so there's no way they're not going to go out there and explore a little bit.
They're all shopping. I've already seen, guys going shopping, today on their off day. They, going to the Coach store. I get it. London, I mean, being able to travel abroad is great. I'm very curious to see, though, I've seen the facility that they're staying at, and I know exactly where they're practicing.
Yeah.
It is incredibly beautiful out there.
Sure.
The field looks great. So they have a nice little setup over there. But I'm curious, though, remember what happened overall with the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dublin? Granted, this wasn't London, but I wonder, what the NFL, since that incident happened where they had the Steelers player robbed and beaten up.
Yep.
What type of provisions are in place here, for these guys as they're traveling about? I think now it is something you obviously have to pay attention to. And I think as a coach, it's one of those things you're worried about. You trust your guys, but you're also worried. You're in another country, and, the state of the world is very interesting right now. And I just think that those are things you have to just worry about. I know Sean worries about every little detail. He's probably the most worried about off days, non-structured time with these guys.
Oh, 100%. That's why when there's a jazz festival outside of your hotel, was it the final preseason game, I think?
I think it was in San Francisco. I think it was joint practices when they were in San Francisco, the one where he had 14 things he was pissed off about that had nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, a jazz festival going till 2 a.m. is definitely on the top of Sean Payton's list. But yeah, I was so curious. I'm like, how are you going to stop them from going out and exploring, which is funny that you see them all like at the coach store. And who are you following that you saw that, if you're willing to say, or give me a side of the ball? I'm curious.
Offense.
Okay.
And then there's some offensive guys too. They're biking on the London Bridge.
Honestly, like, you're in London, go explore a little bit.
Enjoy it. And I also think, like, in this time too, I do think that with the wives being out there, I think it's one of those things where, during this time, yes, go be with your family, but like tomorrow when practice happens, they're going to be locked in after that. Like, so you have a day here and then you just have the event. Another person to make the trip, Jarrett Stidham.
I know.
For a good reason, but he could make the trip later on in the week. It just depends on how everything goes. I was curious for your thoughts on this because I know you follow a lot of the wives and girlfriends, like you see that.
Oh, yeah.
Jarrett and his wife are expecting their third child any day now. But for Sean, I always think it's so cool that Sean, it's bigger than the game, right? Mm-hmm. If Jarrett misses this game, the Broncos are going to be fine.
Yep.
But the fact it's like, hey, like, Sean values these guys experiencing the biggest moments in life. I think there are some coaches that don't like that. There's some coaches that I've heard stories where it's like they're expecting a birth. Like, there's times where coaches in front office, people be like, make sure you text me a picture that the child is born or something like that. Like, in different situations, different organizations, it can be toxic.
Oh, 100%. And okay, my guess, this is just my complete guess. I know that Kennedy Stidham, Jarrett Stidham's wife, was with Izzy and all of the wives watching the game on Sunday. I saw videos of them. They were all hanging out. My guess is they were waiting to see if something would happen. If not, she most likely got induced on Monday or possibly even today so that Jarrett could be there. Because, of course, they were like, the 1 week we don't want this baby to come is the week that they're in London. Like, she even said that in a vlog. So, makes sense. Your husband's across the world, it sounds like, in London. You obviously want him to be there. So my guess is because it's her third child, they said, okay, we'll induce you. And that's why the team said that he will return with them back on Wednesday, because could have the baby on Monday. Tuesday, he can fly out late, arrive on Wednesday. Boom, you saw your baby get born. Your third child, how exciting for him and his wife, Kennedy. And then you're back with the team and all's good. And you just hope Kennedy has some good family members that came out to hang with her for a week, so that, because she's got 2 other toddlers.
Yeah.
Can't imagine how crazy and hectic their household is right now.
They say it takes a village. I'm sure they've got a great plan in place. For that. I mean, I talked to Jarrett, a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, said it's getting close, and he says, yeah. He said the timing of this is going to be very interesting. He's like, we've never had an in-season baby before. All that they've always had, like, the children that they had, the 2 others, and they had them in the off season. So this will be fun. But man, they're excited. Jarrett's such a good dude, great human being.
He's the funniest guy. That was one thing when I started going to the locker room like normally. He's hysterical. I don't remember who did Texas play this year in the playoffs?
I think they were playing. I think it was when they were playing Ohio State.
Yeah. And he was chirping so many guys in the locker room. I was like, you're hysterical. He's just one of those funny ones that like I want them to keep him around because of the way he like keeps this locker room in check and makes everybody enjoy it. And you can just tell the love they all have for each other. It's such a good locker room right now. Yeah. Like, you and I have both seen some pretty bad locker rooms when things just don't seem to be going the way you want it to be. But this one's really close, and I like it. And I hope they are enjoying their day in London. Yeah,
they deserve it for sure.
Just like are you calling him Ollie too?
Ollie, Oliver. Like, when he's in trouble, I go Oliver.
Okay, I was gonna say just like Ollie is enjoying.
He loves the drawstring on his hoodie.
But as long as he's not barking, you're like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if I put him in his little play crate, it would be yapping. We'd never be able to get through a show. So the powers that be, and like, who's gonna get mad at us doing a show with a puppy on? Like,
no one. No. In fact, I want to get my 70-pound dog in here and sit on my lap, but she would be like, absolutely not, Mom. Like, not happening. Okay, when you look at the Jets game, though, I'm assuming you saw Justin Fields talk about how there's a first time for everything for a team that goes 0-5 to start the season to go on and win the Super Bowl. Okay, like, let's stop dreaming just a little bit there, Justin Fields. But where do you see the Broncos really being able to capitalize against this Jets team?
Well, I think a lot of it too, I think the defense being able to get after Fields, the thing you have to worry about with Justin, and certainly when he was on the Steelers last year when they played Denver, he did a really good job as a passer. I mean, he was pretty accurate. That's one thing I think that's improved of his game. But you factor in just like different offensive line units. I don't know what it'll look like against this Broncos defense, right? But you have to worry about him using his legs, because if he gets outside the pocket, he can burn you. I mean, we've already seen him run for a massive touchdown this year. I believe that was against the Miami Dolphins, I think, on that Monday night game a few weeks ago. Like, he escaped crazy pressure there. You know, you have Garrett Wilson, you know, you have Breece Hall still in the run game. I just think that Denver matches up well for them. But if he's talking about like, hey, you know, 0-5, there's a first. The Super Bowl should be the last thing on the New York Jets' minds right now. They should just focus on trying to get their first win. But they're a young team. Like, they have a new head coach. They just got to get better.
I literally kind of cackled out loud when I saw that quote, and I was like, okay, like, let's be realistic here. Even if you're Jets fans, you're like, what just came out here? If Bo Nix came and said that after they had lost every single game this season, I would be like, Bo, come on, man. Like, let's be a little realistic here. I know we want to keep the spirits high, but it's just such a ridiculous quote. Again, you're looking for your first win, and all of a sudden now you have to fly across the country and go to London to play a Broncos team that just beat the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Like, let's just take a look around, shall we? But I'm excited for this game, actually. Traveling in these international games, I always give it a 50-50 because you never know how your team's going to show up. Are they jet lagged? Like, I guarantee Sean is definitely looking into all of these things of how to make sure that they're not experiencing any of those things. I also know there's like pills you can take nowadays for like jet lag. I don't know. I thought about taking when I went to Switzerland, but we never did. I
didn't learn of that. Well, I know like Sean's big into like the sleep science. Like, he mentions it all the time, sleep science, like recovery stuff. Like, so we know Bo Lowry, the Broncos staff, they've done a great job of probably looking into this. Yeah. I'm not as worried about the travel there and like the week of fatigue. I'm a little more anxious about next week coming back from London.
Great.
And you got to play the New York Giants in that defense where they're going to be rested because they play on Thursday night this week. So
do you think there's any chance that they switch back to rest?
Well, I know Jackson Dart's on the injury report this week for them. Yeah. Depending on how that goes, there could be a chance. I honestly think even if Jackson Dart, let's say he were hurt, not playing, they're better off rolling with Jameis Winston.
Yeah, agreed.
At that point.
I agree.
But, you know, if Russ is going to play against Denver, I guess.
Yeah, but that would be 2 times that he's dodged the bullet of not having to play against the Broncos since he left, which would be very, very interesting. But
I wanted to ask you something. Did you think beforehand, like before the season began, like once we got to week 1, did you think that like, all right, hey, by the time week 7 comes around, were you confident or did you think that Russ was going to play in that game?
No.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Honestly, ever since last season, I've been like, he's done. Yeah. Like, there haven't been any successful signs for Russ. And I know Broncos country almost gets pissed off when we bring up Russell Wilson, but it's just true. Like, the downfall of Russell Wilson needs to be like looked at deeply by people because it's crazy how well Pete Carroll disguised him in Seattle to the fact that no other coach has been able to figure it out. I had there was nothing in my head that said Russell Wilson will start against the Broncos. I was not even close in my memory of being like, yep, this is 100% going to happen. That's how I'm circling the game on the calendar. It was not like that, and I still don't think so. But if you have injuries like that, I'd be very curious if Russ would be like, give me a shot because I would love to go after this, or if it would be like a, Jameis, it's all you, my friend, right? Because it's like a coin flip for them at this point if Dart can't go.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, what they were doing at the beginning of the season, rotating Dart and Russ in, I didn't like that. Just stick to a guy like Brian Dable. He had to make the decision because his job was essentially on the line this year. You play a rookie, at least you're going to get that runway extended a little bit if that rookie starts to piece things together. It's like, all right, there's some upside, but they've lost some guys due to injury. I know that's definitely something that they're dealing with, but that's what I'm more worried about is the coming back from London, jet lag, because you got to fly back after the game. Now you have like your routine where it's like you're going to try to use that Monday and that Tuesday. You got to get treatment. You have to also figure out just how to like catch up on sleep a little bit. And then you got to go right back to it on Wednesday. That's why I just wish, and I don't think Sean had a choice here, but that's why it's like after you go to London, I always feel like you should have a bye. Always feel like it. But
so rude of the NFL actually to not give you a bye after an international game.
Some teams are staying, like the Vikings stayed overseas and played 2 straight overseas games, which was interesting. Jacksonville, I think, did that last year where they stayed overseas for just 2 weeks. So I was like, All right. But I feel bad for those fan bases that maybe like it was a home game and now you got, your season ticket holder. Just so many different variables.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It might be a hot take. I don't love the international games.
I don't.
I'm not a fan, and I get it because you want to have the league grow so much. Fans, come on down. Come to Denver. Come experience it here in the Mile High City. I hate looking out there and they've filled the stadiums, but it's like every single possible kind of jersey out there. Like, I just don't like them.
And you always get like, it's a great song, but it's like every week it's Sweet Caroline. Bop, bop, and it's like, okay, like, what about like something else? Like play another song. But no, I mean, I think it's cool for the international game. I just feel like it shouldn't be like every week. I feel like you should maybe have like one game. If you want to do international, do one game in each of these hotspot locations per season.
Yeah.
That's my thing. But I mean, it is cool to get out and travel abroad. I can just tell you from a coaching standpoint, it's a logistics nightmare. It's if you worry about, like, let's say you don't have a very good locker room culture, it's the number one thing you worry about. Like, how are we going to handle this, that? But I'm not worried about that with Denver.
Wait, I just thought about this. Russell Wilson on the flight, or however many years ago that was, with the high knees.
Yeah, he definitely did it to himself with that.
I think he
quotes just like,
I think that's the thing. It's purposefully sometimes.
Yeah,
I can't believe that was 3 years ago, right? No, 2 years ago.
The Broncos, I mean, they got that win, but then like they went downhill after that win, and then the Jaguars went uphill after that win. So
Justin Simmons,
the pick,
interception,
incredible. I still can't believe he's not on an NFL team.
I know.
Such a shame. He's a damn good player. He could help out any team right now that needs a safety. But
I'm very, very surprised as well. I'll be curious if he ever does. Right, like right before the trade deadline, if you're in need of a safety, like
why not sign Justin?
I'm shocked, especially because I mean he's the number one guy that's picked off Patrick Mahomes, right? Like he knows how to play this game. So I don't know. I thought that was fascinating, but his price tag might be a little too high, and people aren't willing to go for it. Because how old is he now? 30.
Great question. I don't know. I think he's in his 30s. Justin Simmons.
Yep.
Let's see here. It says that he is 31 years old. Yeah. I mean, he was born a few months before me. I'm 31.
Yeah.
But that dude can still play a high-level football. I'm convinced. I wanted him to come back to Denver this offseason somehow, but
I know. I thought about it too, but I think Sean was like, okay, we're removing ourselves from anything of the past. Like we are just moving forward. And I do think that there is something to be said about that when it comes to the locker room. And I don't think Justin always agreed with Peyton. So
no, but I think, Justin's like very outspoken as a leader, which is good. You want that. And, I know he challenged Vic on a few things just because, but that's the nature of the game. You want a player like that. I think he still has so much to offer. It's just a shame. I'm glad he's not going to Kansas City. He could have easily went to KC. I know they had interest in him.
That would be absolutely brutal. Broncos country would definitely be in tears for that one.
Yes, but we shall see.
I know, Cody. It's always so much fun. But I hope you're getting sleep, my friend. I hope your toes and the back of your ankles aren't too scratched up the next time we talk on Thursday for our mailbag episode. But I'm loving him. I think you're finally going to get a nap.
I hope so. I'm about to go put him in his crate here. But yes, Broncos country, send Rachel and I your mailbag questions. We'll answer them on Thursday's show. We look forward to it. Thank you so much for hanging with us as you always do.
Peace.
Bye.